Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So a lot of you know that I like scary movies, and you're always kind of wondering what scary movies do I like, and I've always been asked for some scary movie recommendations. So I thought I'd do this for a fun story time. It's not really a story time, but I'll kind of segue it into a story time. So why don't we do that for this one? So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. So to start off with my recommendations, let me just tell you how I first started into scary movies. So when I was a lot younger, I'm an only child, so whenever my parents would get together with their friends, I'd go along with them. And my parents, well, especially my mom, she loves scary movies. So what would happen is they'd always watch a scary movie with their friends, but because I was too young and I wouldn't have a babysitter, what they'd end up having me do is just turn around and lie down and kind of go to sleep while they're watching the scary movie. Now, if you know as a child, that can be terrifying because just the sounds alone are enough to disturb anyone. So that was kind of my first taste of scary movies. But then after that, it kind of built when I was, I would say, let me think, middle school ish age. We got together with some family friends and we watched the movie Cujo. Now, as a child, Cujo is a terrifying movie. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's still pretty terrifying. If you're not aware about what it is, it's a St. Bernard dog that gets rabies and ends up tormenting a mother and her son whose car breaks down on the lot where the dog is, and there's no one else around to help them. That really messed me up in the sense of I never trusted St. Bernards after that, and I don't trust Beethoven. So let's just set that out right there. So Cujo, I would say, was the first one that I kind of watched that was a scary movie when I was younger. Then after that, I'd say it was probably Unbreakable. That's the Samuel L. Jackson movie. And that was a pretty good movie, although it was pretty comical at my age for some of the parts in it. But what I would say is my first start into scary movies, it would have been When a Stranger Calls. Not the original, the remake When a Stranger Calls. That was the first one I'd say when I was in my teens that I watched with my parents, and I really liked it. I liked the suspense, I liked the spooks and the scares. It's not really that big of a scary movie, but I always recommend like a classic When a Stranger Calls. I watched the original after that, and the original's even better than the remake, I'd say, because it has more of a storyline, even though the middle part is kind of a waste of time, in my personal opinion. But it's really well done. And I think that's a nice movie to kind of ease you in. After that, I kind of went into the Black Christmas phase with the original Black Christmas. The remake is garbage, in my opinion. The original Black Christmas is a classic, and it's one of those scary movies that kind of launched the slashers to what they are and how they've been. It's a Canadian movie, and it was actually filmed in Toronto. So that's a bonus as well. So I would say though, if you're gonna start out, go with the classic slasher, but not too slasher gory, because I'm not a big gore fan. So When a Stranger Calls is always good. Black Christmas is terrifying, in my opinion. It scarred me for quite a while and terrified me. Um, then I'd say I kind of went into the slasher films like the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th type movies and the Screams and things like that, and the I Know What You Did Last Summer, the classic 90s, 80s slasher flicks. And then what I'd say after that is I kind of went into the supernatural films, spooky films. So The Conjuring's always a good one. Insidious terrified me the first time I watched it. The rest of the Insidious franchise, the rest of the Conjuring franchise, really good. The second Annabelle, super creepy, and I really enjoyed those. I've recently started watching older scary movies like the Texas Chainsaw, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and obviously to today's standards, they're not that scary anymore. But I always find them interesting to watch because it really shows how the scary genre, sorry, first started. And I always really like watching those types of films for that reason. So let's get into my actual official recommendations. So drum roll, please. We're going to get into it right now. So to start you off, if you're not really a scary movie horror fan, I say When a Stranger Calls. It has some spooks, nothing too major. It's the classic old tale of the person on the other line tormenting the babysitter. Who doesn't love a classic old wives' tale slash campfire spooky story? Another good one I'd say is Scream because it has some comic relief in it because it really defined that switch from classic slasher to being a little more self aware of the scariness of it, and it added a lot of comedic elements to it. Another good recommendation if you're really wanting to start getting into the spooks, I'd say The Conjuring's a good start. The Conjuring plays it very well, and the first Insidious. Those are really good, spooky, supernatural type films that really got me on the edge of my seat. Another good recommendation I'd say is All in All, anything that you really think would be interesting. You're Next is another good one. That's a Netflix series, and it just shows how a woman can be a really good badass in it. I wouldn't call that horror because horror is a hard definition to define. Because slasher could be horror, supernatural films could be horror. Those could also be conveyed as thrillers or suspense films. But I love all of them. The Others is another amazing movie. That one's a good one if you're not really into spooks because it plays on the themes so well. The Others, The Uninvited, another amazing movie. I like Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. That was a good one growing up. The Stepfather, that's a classic one. And I'm trying to think. But you know what? I think that's it for this one. Those are some scary movies that I'd recommend. Again, those are my personal opinions. If you don't agree with them, don't worry. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree with what I say, just like I don't have to agree with what you say. But these are my recommendations, and I'm always welcome to suggestions, and I'm always more than happy to give other recommendations on some spooky movies that you can watch. So I hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!